They're getting a little bit more friendly about the cloud stuff on our campus. I mean, it is, we still get into a lot of the HIPAA compliant stuff, but now we're at that point with AI. What are we teaching the AI is the big question we're hearing.
AI is very much garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
It doesn't know when to filter out the bad stuff. It just takes it all in.
Life is like a sewer. What you get out of it depends on what you put into it.
On this episode, we discuss more mergers and acquisitions, open AV, plus e-paper possibilities. All that and more on EdTech. EdTech episode 133, Garbage In, Garbage Out. Hello, AV friends, and welcome to another episode of EdTech. As always, we have our panel of awesome higher ed AV professionals, Ernie Bailey. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Arian, how are you doing today?
Getting ready for that fall semester. It's right around the corner.
We've already started, so.
Lucky you. And we also have Scott Tyner. Hi, Scott.
Hi, thanks for having me again. Beautiful summer day here as we wind down in New England.
And today's special guest joining us for this episode is Andy Vogel from the Ohio State University. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks, guys. I'm so excited to be here and dig in with you guys and learn what's going on.
Awesome. So to start us off, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you do over there?
Oh, boy. Okay. So what we're currently doing, let's see. Right now, it's all AI. You all probably are sick of it and hearing it, but the big thing right now is we have historically been on Microsoft campus, and we will continue to be a Microsoft campus. However, we are now also a Google campus. And if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago if we can use Google products, I would have given you the whole rundown of why we don't do that and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Google's here, and they're actually having a big event at the Shoe, our stadium, this Thursday, a big old rollout of Gemini and that sort of stuff. So you may have seen in the news, like Ohio State's one of the many campuses that is having a requirement for an AI fluency course. So this is part of that. So this is for faculty, students, and there will continue to be more of these type of workshops and tools. So that's a big thing that everyone from AV to instructional design get kind of pulled into there. And, it's kind of like all hands on deck thing of figuring this stuff out, seeing how we get in the classroom, managed all the fun privacy data laws that go along with it, too.
Well, you aren't busy or anything. Jeez Louise. AI, oh my.
Yes.
Well, all right, let's jump into the articles that we read. So this first one can be found on Rave Pubs, written by Gary Kay. 26 North's AVI-SPL by hints at what's next for the big AV in 2026. So I know that we've talked about like mergers and acquisitions and stuff like this, but man, yet another one. What do all these mean for higher ed buyers and decision makers?
Well, I think it means that we are going to find ourselves more and more compacted to a few large companies. And we hope that the companies who are doing the buying are doing it to improve their product or to improve where they are in the market rather than to strip a certain company of IP and sell it all off in bits. So that's I think that's where we can hope in higher ed in particular, is that this improves the products and the services that we get, as opposed to just makes a handful of people a whole bunch of money.
Exactly. We've been through this more on the manufacturer side. I mean, it's interesting to see it happening now in the distribution area. This one kind of surprised me. We are a customer of AVI-SPL a good bit. And so I'm hoping I don't see an effect of this because we've got a very good relationship with AVI-SPL. We deal with several different vendors, but they're one of our preferred vendors and always quick to respond and meet our needs. We use them more as a box house. We do our own integration here. But like I said, we went through this. We saw several manufacturers go through this. Some survived, some didn't. Yeah, it's kind of, let's watch and see what happens. And
No, from the silver lining is that it makes our fiscal and procurement office easier because it's one thing for them to get approval. So, for example, like all of our software requests, not only do they do go through security review, but they go through an accessibility review, which is very rigorous. So, if the large influence of a vendor like that can go through that and inform other vendors that you work with public face entities like OSU, that helps a lot and that reduces a lot of churn. So that's the silver lining I see. But I also hear it's like we use small shop integrators all the time. So it's mixed emotions as usual.
No, absolutely. It makes me hope that with like the venture capitalists kind of dipping their toes into the AV space, that companies aren't tempted to become like just these big entities that don't have that as much of that local connection that they used to before they start getting gobbled up by the big companies. And it would be a shame that if those local area, those local companies lose a bit of that and just kind of become faceless. Oh, just go to the website, plunk in your numbers and do the thing and, pay us basically. I hope it doesn't get to that point. Like, I hope that they're smart enough to recognize that they need to still put in some of that groundwork and maintain those relationships, as opposed to just being kind of like, oh, well, we're too big to fail and we can do kind of whatever. They'll still buy from us anyway because their options are becoming less and less. And hopefully it doesn't go that route. I like to be an optimist and think that it's going to be for the better, and that maybe then because it, as a larger company, then can have that extra money that's coming in, that they can pay a little more attention to some of the details and then really be able to concentrate on the things that we need and we want, as opposed to just being like, oh, we know better. Okay, here you go. Take what you can get.
I'm always interested in I would love to always have a private conversation with some of the people making these decisions to think about what's your strategy behind this, because I actually haven't had an opportunity to really do the research to find out exactly what 26 North, right, the company that bought, what their history is and the like, right? But it was referred to in the article as a venture capital company, which is different than a private equity company, right? So they think that if they are truly a venture capital company, they think they're buying some new technology that's got a strong future in it. And you can only think, Andy, that's AI that's involved, particularly if we're talking about services and installation, and that they can improve that company and improve their revenue stream and make more money. So I always am like, what are they thinking here, right? Private equity is often the one you think of that gets the bad rap, that they rip companies apart and sell off the IP. So I think there is some hope there that that they refer to this as a private equity buy. As a venture capital buy, because they might want to think about growing in an area that they already have some other businesses in.
That's an excellent way of looking at it. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Well, this next piece is also from Rave Pubs, and it was written by Scott Tyner, examining the Excite mid-year cloud data report. So open AV. Loving this concept. What's the future of it? Where are we going?
I'll jump in here, right? Because I guess I initiated the conversation. So first of all, if you haven't read this report, you have to go read it. Because there are some, I actually had to print it out. I don't often print things out, but I printed it out and I get there with my red pen highlighting this stuff that was just weird to me, right? That 60% of the people surveyed said they use some kind of cloud-based monitoring. Really? Like, what are the other 40% doing? How are they not? I don't get that. There was a very small number coming from manufacturer of attendees who went to this conference that they were talking about. Um, and as we know, if you think about business and strategy, if you think about Apple's strategy, and certainly many of the people in the AV industry, the walled garden is their strategy, and there's not a whole lot of incentive to open up that walled garden. So my hope here, though, is that some of those companies, I don't want to throw a whole lot of names, though, that are really walled gardens, what Excite provides would really damage their company, right? Because it's coming right after the control systems, it's coming right after the monitoring systems, and it's very clear that those of us who use the systems, build the systems and use them, really want this open AV single pane of glass thing. So I'm really curious to see where this goes. And every few years we see a company kind of try to do this, but it looks like Excite is really looking towards building a movement in the industry as opposed to just building their own company.
Yeah, and if you all didn't know, some people who work for Excite had come from control system manufacturer. So I think that was where the inspiration essentially had come from. But yeah, I hope that as the desire from end users for this, and that the more vocal that we get, and apparently like it seems that majority of the people who attending that were end users, hopefully those voices get heard and that it starts to chip away a little bit at those, walled gardens. But yeah, it's when you're talking about money.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. I mean, we use, I think Scott mentioned on here, multiple different tools, cloud-based tools to monitor. I want to see some management tools added in with it, so not only we're developing our own single pane of glass for our classrooms right now. So not only can we see what's going on, we can touch it right there and immediately go in and, quite often solve problems before the instructor knows there's a problem in the classroom. Or if they are having some issues, we can, we don't look at the monitoring system and have to go somewhere else to do something about it. And we're seeing more and more of that, I think. And I think that right there is probably what's scaring some of the control system folks, because they're, we're wanting to get an API into their system. They're insisting that everyone else let them touch their things, but they don't want anyone touching theirs.
Yeah, I like what you're talking about, Ernie, with the preventive maintenance, because that's what we use with one of the out of the box cloud-based systems for one of our pieces. But at OSU we're decentralized. I'm with the College of Engineering, and so what we use doesn't necessarily mean what Arts and Sciences uses. So it'd be great to have an open thing that would still allow us to be decentralized, but also have a common tool, and that allows us to have a common language. And then, because really we want to offer that white glove service all across the board, regardless of what department we're in. So having this open allows us to put those white gloves on.
And I know that even as part of HETMA, there's a little subgroup that's very into like open AI and working on some projects and stuff like that. And but yeah, it makes me wonder what that 40%'s doing. Like, it's so small that
I was thinking small shops. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they're just so inundated because it's one guy doing so many things. It's like, well, I don't even have time to investigate a tool or anything, or budget's too small, because I get that too. And a lot of, all the cloud-based things, even if it is relatively open, it's still going to cost you. But it just depends on how much.
Yeah,
And
and I
what
could
kind of
see
model?
network infrastructure too being a thing, because that has been some of our hurdles in the past. Even is like, the hierarchy of where your service stands and what are you putting out there and that sort of stuff. So it's that buy-in of not only are you learning another tool, but so is your network admin. And do they have to stand this up, or is this, is it cloud where we use another server? What are, getting past those questions and situations?
Yeah, and we saw a lot of solution to that at Infocom this year, and that we're seeing more and more of our AV tools and products learning to speak true network and IT languages. So, I mean, I remember several years ago, we took something to our network engineering team and said, we want to put this on our campus. And they said, not on our network, after a few minutes looking at it. And that's changing. And we're also seeing access into some of the support products that are out there. Middle Atlantic completely restructured their user interface and their APIs, making them much more user friendly and network friendly at the same time. And they're pushing it backwards to all of their network devices they've ever put out. So I'm hoping we're seeing that as a trend for others as well.
I know that on my campus, anytime we purchase pretty much any product that has cloud in its title and its description, we have an extra set of questions that need to be answered by, our networking team is like, what you doing over there? And I get that because, when you enter have a cloud system that is involved with your campus stuff, they're like, well, what are you guys doing? We know what our security standards and stuff. And yeah, it's
right.
They're getting a little bit more friendly about the cloud stuff on our campus. I mean, we still get into a lot of the HIPAA compliant stuff, but that's clearly delineated in most things now. But and now we're at that point with AI, like we talked about earlier.
Oh yeah.
What's it going to do? What are we teaching the AI is the big question we're hearing. And they're not allowed to use it anywhere near any patient management stuff.
AI is very much garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
It doesn't know when to filter out the bad stuff. It just takes
Right.
it all in.
Right. Make it open.
Well, this last one comes to us on AVNation.tv, written by Robert Heron. E-paper advantage. So, where does e-paper belong in the pro AV and higher ed spaces, if at all?
I think it's a neat tool, especially for some of the digital signage that we're seeing out there now. It's a more affordable way to get information out there and display it. It's still somewhat active. It's getting more and more. I mean, you're actually seeing motion and stuff on it. But even some of the earlier ones, if you're just needing to put a static message out, but out for a limited amount of time, it's cheaper than printing posters and carrying them all over the place. So that's the first place I think of seeing it.
It's interesting. So the College of Engineering, we're actually in the architecture building, and right next to me, you can't see it, but is the plotter lab. And we call it Plotter Palooza at the end of every semester. And we just bought new plotters that were only a few years old, but that's how often we use these machines. And so it would be a huge cost saving, but it would be a big culture shift of getting folks to use this type of material because, they want their CAD maps blown up real big, or maybe it's making an advertisement, some type of render. It's really cool, but it requires, glossy paper, requires this type of ink. It's also got to go through networking because we got to charge, put it on the ID. So it's got to go through this different team, all these pieces and parts that are, very much so. Don't ask me how AV got into managing it, but we manage it. And so having another solution like that make it more streamlined be awesome.
Oh yeah, digital poster boards, like that'd be fantastic. 'Cause then it'd be a lot easier too. Like those poor kids, I think they all have to wait until the last minute to print
Right.
because they're
Yeah.
like editing,
Yeah.
editing, editing, editing,
Mhm.
editing. But then if you just know it's going to be like in pretty much a digital format, but still have that kind of feeling
Right.
of a poster, like they can make changes right up until
Yeah.
last minute where they gotta load it up.
Right. Yeah. Can you imagine doing a poster presentation and just having that like standby?
Yeah, or even I think that it's interesting. We all went in that same direction, right? Because when I read this, I first started, I was like, oh my gosh. Some people at work have some of these like little things that they run, and it's cool. It works great for them. I've never been able to do it, whether it's an iPad or any of that stuff. It's just never worked for me. And then I read it more and I was like, this is much more about the technology and the display than it necessarily is about e-paper. And in education, like you're saying, this idea of we do these poster sessions all the time at the end of every year, not as much as Andy might, but just this idea that they're all here, they're all recyclable. You walk up with the USB or just Bluetooth and you just connect to it and you put your display up there. The stuff that was solar powered, and you've got bus routes that are solar powered. So you've got some signage outside that's solar powered because it takes us a little electricity. I think the technology has a lot of options, and I think we're going to start to see it in just everything. They talked about watches and phones. And so I think it's really a story about how the technology is changing, and display technology is becoming much more flexible.
Well, one thing that I think with this, they talked about how low power it is. There were a couple of companies, once again at Infocom this year, showing wireless power. They were, pushing power over these little IR type tubes, and you couldn't power a full AV system. They were powering some low power displays, and I'm thinking something like this
Yeah.
that doesn't have a heavy draw. I mean, you could easily, just put it out in a big open area, an arena type space, shoot power from above wirelessly, and you don't, setup is, just rolling the device out there. And then once again, Bluetooth or a thumb drive or whatever to connect to just put your display up. You've reduced the setup time for both the students and the AV team or whoever's doing it, the teardown time, clean up, all that. So I think it's really neat. We had a small conference at what is now a VIXA. It was, I think, ICIA at the time. It's been through several names. Back 25 years ago or so. And this is one of the things we talked about. We were talking about the future of AV, and we were actually talking about e-paper, and it was a very new concept back then. But seeing it come back and being used in ways, that we kind of imagine is kind of neat.
It's kind of funny how sometimes a technology could be like just a little bit too early for its time. And then like QR codes, like they've been around forever. But they really didn't find their footing until COVID times. And like now, like e-paper has been around, but really maybe it was just too early. And now it's going to find its footing.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, Aaron, because like it's about culture and that demand of it, because it's the same about Google Glass, right? Like that was out and the adoption rate was so low because of privacy concerns, and then cell phones came out, everyone got used to not having privacy anymore, and then those sorts of things, and now it's like the Meta Ray-Bans are out, and then there'll be another flavor of something else. I'm soon sure, and we're just going to see more of that adoption. But I think like it's these life events, whether it's pandemic or just another technology like a phone that we rely on so much that we end up using for work and social, is really what drives, that sort of adoption.
I mean, and maybe someday, instead of like for swag, people giving out notebooks, the technology for e-paper will get cheap enough that they could give away little e-paper notebooks, which maybe then I'll finally adopt it. Whereas like Scott, like I can't. I like my paper notebook.
Yeah, I understand.
I see people that do it, and I'm just like, I want to learn from you. I wish I could do that because you've got everything you need there, not spread across your desk.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work for me.
Right. Yeah. Because then I spend like a couple minutes. I'm like, I know it's in here somewhere.
Well,
It'd be nice to be able to like do the recognition so that I could just type in what I'm looking for. And it's like, oh yeah, here's the page.
I've got
Wrote all
3
of
of these notebooks on my desk.
There you go.
I know what each one is.
Right. Looks familiar, Ernie.
Yeah. What does it say on it?
That's a little happy notebook, maybe. This was another great conversation, gentlemen. I absolutely appreciate it, especially when it's this time of year. It is absolutely difficult kind of for us to get away for an hour to do anything, much less record a podcast. So I very much appreciate your time and effort in putting this conversation together and reading these articles. Andy, if anyone wants to reach out to you and continue some of these conversations or just say, hey, where might they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm part of HETMA. So if you are in higher ed and want to talk, I'm in the HETMA communications channels, but I'm also on LinkedIn, Andy Vogel, Andy Vogel. I'll be one of the folks that comes up. Send me a request. Happy to talk to you. My email is vogel.234@osu.edu.
Awesome. And how about you, Ernie?
You can find me on LinkedIn.
Excellent. And Scott?
You can find me on LinkedIn or on X, and occasionally writing for rave pubs.
Awesome. And as for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, on X at smearin_off_ice, on the HETMA community, and each month here on AVNation's EdTech podcast that can be found on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find other AVNation podcasts like Women in AV, Career Mastermind, State of Control, and more. See you next time.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.